Welcome back, Fantas, to another Kenan and Kel with Adam and Aaron. I'm Adam.
And I'm Aaron.
We talk about Kenan and Kel, the 90s Nickelodeon sitcom, on this program, and we're ready for another episode. If you wondered why we pressed record, that's why. There's a new one to talk about.
There is always another Kenan and Kel around the corner. Well, I shouldn't say always. One day we will run out, and that'll be the worst day of my life.
It'll be a very sad day for the show.
We'll have to move on to everything else that Kenan and Kel have produced. Every SNL episode.
You're going to see SNL. We're going to talk about Mystery Men. I think Kel's in that. We're going to do some Mighty Ducks with Kenan.
I think Kel got...
I should make all these
Kel
promises.
got the short end of the stick, for sure.
Yeah, he did like voice acting stuff. We could do like a Clifford the Big Red Dog. I think he's a voice on that.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That feels like the timing of that feels way off. Like, can you believe that they grew up not watching that?
No, I can't. So let's, the episode is episode 9 from season 2 called Foul Bull. And I know what you're thinking, does a bull actually go loose in Chicago and Kenan and Kel have to chase it down using their bullfighting abilities?
That is not what happens. This is about the Chicago Bulls.
Right, the basketball team.
If you don't know, you know,
yeah.
The basketball team.
they had this was a legendary era for them, the 90s. This is the height of Michael Jordan, who is frequently referenced on the show already.
Mm-hmm. Nice job on that Wikipedia research, Adam.
Thanks. Well, I could also tell you that this is Michael Jordan's return to the game, because he took a brief baseball escapade in 96.
Wow.
95, 96.
Yep, exactly. Escapade is a great word.
Well, that's what you call it when the Looney Tunes get involved.
Yep, I suppose all of your Michael Jordan knowledge probably comes from
Space Jam. Yep.
That's good. Very good. Adam, I have to, before we start, I gotta let you know, and I'm sure the Phantoms will appreciate this bit of nostalgia. So one of my coworkers is 26 years old, and he teaches physics, and so we've been having to do a lot of virtual instruction, and so I was talking to him, like, how's it going? He's like, oh, good. I just pull up Microsoft Paint and like share and like write on it with. I'm like, you do what? He's like, yeah, Microsoft Paint. I'm like, Zoom has a whiteboard feature. You just press like this button and then this button and then it's like a whiteboard. He's like, oh, I kind of like using Paint though. So I thought of you and figured I would share.
I don't blame him, because that is also like, I don't know the first thing about Photoshop. Most of my skills come from PowerPoint and Microsoft Paint. I made our logo in PowerPoint.
Oh, I was hoping you'd say Microsoft Paint. But,
no, that'd be impressive.
Okay, on with the show.
Let's join Cooley on the big orange couch. One of these days we have to talk about the intro in a little more detail.
Yeah.
About some of the lyrics in the theme song, because I don't know about you, but I've been stumped on a couple of them for...
I think we should probably do a whole episode on it.
Yeah, if when we run out of material, we really gotta just milk every corner of the series for once.
We got Good Burger coming up. Maybe we're gonna do a 2-part Good Burger or maybe we'll do like a 4-part because it's 4 times as long as a normal episode.
Man,
4 hours of
month of Good Burger. That'd be. I think we'd lose some fans somehow. They love Kenan and Kel, but they would.
Impossible. Mondo Burger must be stopped.
They do have to be stopped. You're correct. So.
Okay. We enter center stage. Kel's wearing all green, everything. Kenan's wearing long black polo with yellow collar and yellow, I don't know, like cuffs.
Yeah, I think he's got like those elbow patches. But besides that, it's like a pretty modern rugby shirt is what I would call it.
Yeah. Good taste.
Yeah, and Kel is wearing exactly what I would wear, like to the gym.
If you were dressed in all green
in 1997
on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, right. It's I think worth mentioning this episode aired October 25th, 1997. Nearly. Was that right? Oh, I'm sorry. That's off for a day. This episode aired on November 1st, 1997. Just a few days away from when we're recording this, plus 23 years.
Yeah, just 23. Yes, so Kel is wearing all green, and to top off the leprechaun look, he has something orange in his hand. He has a basketball.
Yeah, I thought this was a very important callback to the beginning of the season 2, where they briefly played basketball in the house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was good foreshadowing into their love of basketball, I guess.
I'm looking for a season 2 doing things the Hemingway callback. I'm just waiting patiently.
I mean, clowning around's got our number for sure.
Okay, I suppose you're right.
It could be this one.
I just want to see it in every episode. Okay, so yeah, Kel starts to dribble the basketball,
and he's really pumped up, and he wants to play some of the audience in a game of basketball.
A crew walks up. That's the only way I could describe them.
They could roll up too,
like a boy band. Three people strong, and they challenge Kenan and Kel to a game of basketball.
You know it's 90s because their long sleeve shirts are tied around their waist.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's they got the windbreaker pants that are just baggier than grocery store bags. I don't know what the baggy metaphor or analogy I was going to use.
It's real baggy, and they really threaten them to a game of basketball. They claim that they have a show to do, which of course they do, and they get called chicken and kind of get chided into playing a game.
Mm-hmm. So Kenan tells the crew to go wait down at the court over there, and he points off stage left, I believe. And so that they're like, okay, go ahead. All right, fine, we'll meet you there. And Kenan's like, yeah, y'all better stretch and warm up and get ready. And Kel's basically like, Kenan, they're gonna be mad because we have a show to do.
Don't worry about them. You're gonna have plenty of people mad at you this episode. A very apt prediction.
And yes, and Kenan walks away, but not before he calls Kel another name.
Flapjack.
Yep. Earlier in this scene, it was Dribble Boy. So already,
that's it.
Already two nicknames. And then Kel says something. He says,
"Why you always call me weird nouns like Flapjack?"
Weird nouns. Okay.
Weird nouns is the perfect way to describe.
And here, I wanted to point that out because this is a key moment in Kel's development as a character because he's becoming self-aware.
Yeah, I love it when they start to get meta with the formula.
Yep, it's happening. And before our eyes, artificial intelligence becoming self-aware.
Speaking of meta with the formula, or I should say, Kel says, "Oh, here it goes." We go into the Rigby set, and Kenan has brought back an old town favorite.
Yes.
The Google Puffs are back.
The thing that got us started in this whole shebang. Kenan is walking over, finishing up the display of Google Puffs, clearly spelled Google, and he is singing the Google Puffs theme song.
Now, the Google Puffs jingle reminds me of another jingle, specifically for the brand of Slusho that they advertise on the show. Because both are equally like non-phonetic and don't really rhyme or have a rhythm. But it's do you want to sing the theme?
I did not write it down because I knew you would ask me.
That's a good reason not to write it down.
Adam, I don't know if you know this, but I'm traumatized from not catchy jingles of sweet foodstuffs.
Well, watch out. I'll expect your 1,000-yard stare as I sing you this song. Google Puffs, the cereal crunchy sweet. Google Puffs, the tasty breakfast treat. And the weird thing is that Kenan does this, and he sings about the cereal to no one in particular. And he shortly attracts a tourist in Chicago, right?
Yes, there's a tourist with a camcorder filming Kenan sing this Google Puffs theme song, just like up in his face. I don't know why he was so set on filming the inside of a convenience store, but here he was, right? He's clearly from some other place.
Yeah, the way they set up the beginning of this made me really think that Kenan was trying to get on like some kind of hidden camera show. Or something like that. He was really like performing, trying to get the camera's attention. But once he has the camera guy's attention, like all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, why are you looking at me?"
Yep, I got really big all that vibes from this. It felt like one skit after another this episode.
Yeah, definitely.
It was more like skit acting than like sitcom acting, in my opinion.
This was should be noted. This was written by a new writer on the show called Steve Freeman.
I think Steve went all in with the like kind of the skit,
the bits.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So, anyways, this foreigner is like, Kenan's like, "What are you doing?" He says, "Filming you. You're singing really, really bad." And then Kenan replies with what might be the most tasteless joke, maybe even worse than Mo Sweater Blues joke. And he says, "Oh, your English is really, really bad." And then kind of makes this like face or something to this foreigner who has an accent.
Yeah. I think it's worth saying this is a white guy.
That's true.
this is a white guy doing some kind of weird voice where all his letters are W's, including like his V's. I think he says videotape at some point, like Elmer Fudd. Just, I don't. If he like showed up a third time, I think it would make more sense. But like that, this is it.
Yep, that's it. So, anyways, today's standards probably tasteless, but back then, different world. Chris comes over and he's in a fit because Kenan has placed the Google Puffs, and he's mixed in some Pudios.
Right. And Kenan begins a little tirade about why, like, who would eat a cereal called Pudios? Which I don't know about this gag. It's kind of like in the business, I've heard this referred to as a Monopoly guy. It's a phrase to mean that like, you're just kind of really setting yourself up for a joke that you yourself are gonna spike.
Right.
Like in the script, he can't write Pudios and then make fun of the name Pudios.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I get that. I got that vibe. But luckily, that was not the funniest thing that happened this episode. That was just the appetizer.
We're getting ramped up. Kel arrives and startles Chris.
Yep. And Chris is like, "What, Kel? Why must you yell boo at me?"
I was being sassy.
Yeah. Go be sassy somewhere else.
Yep. Kel immediately turns to the beverages and pulls out a 2-liter of orange soda, which made me think this store is covered with 2 liters of orange soda, isn't it?
Why are the liters of orange soda in the refrigerator? Like the open fridge.
Basically, yeah, in that little, like, where the meats should be.
Right. Right. Those things are expensive. I looked up, one time I was at Target, and I was just like, how much does that cost? Those things are like $15,000. Something stupid.
That's insane.
Maybe not that. Maybe that was not as much, but
well, yeah. If you think about their job is to keep produce like active 24/7.
Oh my god, they're heavy duty machines. We're getting off on all kinds of tangents here, but anyways, so Kel starts drinking this orange soda and he starts immediately spilling it all over the ground, like
which is weird because Kel loves orange soda, but he's also a klutz, so he does not love orange soda more than he is a klutz.
Exactly. Chris realizes that he's spilling, and he tells Kel to stop spilling, and he tells Kenan to get a mop and clean that up, which I feel like he should have just told Kel to clean it up, but whatever. So he asks Kenan to clean it up, and Kenan and Kel are kind of just like, okay.
Yeah, he tells him to get a mopper, which I thought was weird. That feels like Chicago slang or something like that.
A mopper.
Mopper.
Total, no, not evidence. That was not an evidence-based claim, Adam.
No. I wrote down something here, but I don't recall the context for it. But Kel once accuses Kenan of putting a raw egg down his pants.
Yep.
And breaking it against his buttocks.
Yes. Would you like some context?
Yes, please.
Okay, so into the store walks the very famous and well-known and beloved
Chicago Bulls player.
Nice job, Adam.
Yeah.
Ron Harper. And
Yep.
Kenan turns and sees Ron Harper, and he's trying to get Kel's attention. He says, Kel, look, it's Ron Harper. And and Kel like won't believe him. So he's facing the audience. Kenan's facing the door of Rigby's, which of course is away from the audience, and Kel won't turn around. And Kel says, "Yeah, because last time you got me to turn around and look at somebody, see it was somebody famous, you put a raw egg down my pants and slapped my butt."
So eventually, Kel does turn around, and everyone begins freaking out because Ron Harper's there. I thought that. Okay, it's a little insulting that they're guest star, so I understand why they wouldn't. But I think a really funny meta joke would be that, like, what? He's like, who is it? Michael Jordan? He's like, no, we could afford him.
Right, something like that would have been funny.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that's the case. Like, if there's a Chicago Bulls star they could get, he would be top of the line.
Yeah, if it was probably Michael Jordan was like the first pick, and then Ron Harper, everybody's like, oh yeah, we love him too. Because you got to think, like, these guys, Kenan and Kel, as human beings, probably loved Ron Harper and the Bulls.
Absolutely, and he's new to the team in '97. They probably filmed this during the off season, so I was checking out the timeline of when they play basketball. I learned for the show.
The winter.
Yeah, the winter.
It's the winter. It's
an indoor sport.
Yeah, and then the playoffs go from like the beginning of May to the middle of June, or the end of April to the middle of June. It's like a really ridiculously long playoffs. Anyways, my favorite part of this whole episode is what happens right here. Chris recognizes that it's Ron Harper, and he's like, oh, it's Ron Harper. He says, I'm Chris, and I run this whole store. He does like the Willy Wonka thing again.
which is great. And Ron Harper, I gotta say, when people like call it, you're Ron Harper, he says, yeah, I know. Just... I'm happy that he's playing himself.
Yeah, it's a good thing
because he doesn't have to do a lot of work.
What if he was playing Michael Jordan?
That'd be pretty awesome.
Okay, I want you to play Michael Jordan. Oh my god, that'd be so funny.
So Kenan and Kel are flabbergasted, to introduce themselves, and Kenan says to him, "Remember that time you made that free throw?"
And he's like, I made many free throws. And they both start nervously laughing. They're like, oh, Ron Harper with the jokes.
Yeah, so Kel requests that he sign his bottle of orange soda.
Ron asks for a pen, and Kel says he starts looking for a pen in his pockets, can't find one, so he frisks Kenan. And then he's like, he's running out the door, and he's like, don't go anywhere, stay right there, I'll be right back.
So he leaves in a rush, and Kenan offers to get him a couple things to help him out.
Kenan pulls out marshmallows and pantyhose.
Yeah, also offers tuna.
Oh,
just
Luna tuna,
yeah.
If we may.
Of course, right. A Chicago staple. Anyone that when they're in town should try some Luna tuna.
It makes me so angry that in the second episode of this show, they almost won a lawsuit for $1 million.
$10 million.
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
They turned down $1 million. $1 million settlement, nope, down the drain. Ron Harper, after the foreign man, I think, like, calls him out. He's like, you're Ron Harper. And he's like trying to get away from him, and he says thank you. What has to be like 12 times. Do you notice this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And as he walks across the floor of Rigby's, he
slips on orange soda.
Yes. Injuring his knee. And immediately, some patrons call him out. Ron Harper just slipped on orange soda in Rigby's.
Yeah, and this woman goes over to the door and yells out the door, and instantly in rushes like a news crew.
Yeah, right.
A man in like a suit and tie, yeah.
I think I could forgive that because he's Ron Harper, he's in town. It's almost the same situation as the president, right? He's got some news following him, and he just dipped in for the grocery store for a snack.
Although, maybe that would be true. I think what happens with local stars is everybody wants to be cool around their team. Oh. Okay, so if Allen Iverson was hanging around, people would hanging around Philly, people would start to gather around him, but nobody would be like, oh my god, it's Allen Iverson. No, because everybody wants to be we want you to go hang out in our city, because we want you to like be a part of our city so that we feel like we know you more.
Yeah, I get that. You and Allen Iverson go way back, right?
Oh, yes. When Allen Iverson handed me the Guinness Book of World Records in 2005.
Yeah. Yeah, I recall that.
Okay, anyways. That's a story for another day, people.
Kel returns with a pen, still asks him to sign his orange soda, even though he's on the ground in pain.
I have to fact check you here. Kel returns with a pencil.
You're right. He does call it a pen, then he corrects himself calling it a pencil.
Imagine trying to write on a bottle of orange soda with a pencil.
I can't. Not even a pen. Like a Sharpie would be tough. It's all glossy and like...
Anyways, this is our first scene. Clearly, it's not looking good for Ron Harper or Kenan and Kel.
They immediately, first scene, get into trouble, which is a good start to Kenan and Kel.
Yes.
We go back to the Rockmore's household.
So Kenan's pretty mad at Kel because he spilled the orange soda, and Kel's pretty mad at Kenan because he didn't clean it up. Which seems like a conversation you and I are going to have about whose fault this episode is.
Yeah, they are doing right now whose fault.
Right.
Save it for later in the show, guys. So Roger is upset watching the news.
Because the newscaster lets him know that Ron Harper has hurt his knee in a freak accident. But Roger isn't just a little mad. He is furious that Ron Harper is hurt. He says that the Bulls are now doomed if he's hurt.
And I really felt this coming from, neighboring a sports town. When sports news happens, it's big, and people get real emotional.
Yep.
And get real angry when bad things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Recall the Eagles winning the Super Bowl a couple years back, and the whole town just being burnt to the ground.
Yeah. Oh no, it's a tribal thing, right? It's like, these people are in my tribe. I will root for them to the extent that I hate the people on the other side. Like I won't talk to people wearing a Cowboys jersey because I actually hate them. I've been told my whole life to hate that gray star, and so I hate them.
Or the New York Giants, even though they're like geographically like mere hours away.
Yep. No, I hate them.
Yeah, so I think it's worth noting too that this newscaster is a return character to the show.
That's right.
Kurt Loder playing himself from MTV News.
Yeah, wonderful.
He last reported on the very similar vibes to the President episode in the line of Kenan, where he also reported on the President's incident that happened in Rigby's.
Yeah, it's like a famous character comes into Rigby's. There's a bad jingle for this sweet food item.
Yeah, it's a lot of parallels, that one, I'm now realizing.
Right.
They're
the
both,
newscaster.
they're both episode 9, crazy enough.
Oh, wow. Kenan realizes that the newscaster is going to come back on the TV. So he's trying to distract Roger so that he doesn't want to watch the TV anymore. So he pretends to hear his mom call everybody to dinner in the other room. And Mr. Rockmore is like, I didn't hear her. And he's like, oh, yeah. Like, she called. Like, Kel, right? And Kel's like, well, I didn't hear her either. And he's like, hey, of course, hits him. And then they all kind of start walking, making their way to the kitchen. And then Mrs. Rockmore enters with Kyra from the front door, which is just, I love this because it was just a little tiny white lie, but it added so much to the scene. It just made it like so much funnier.
Yeah, it's what I would call a good writing. It's not something that we normally see on Kenan and Kel, a joke like this, but it's great. Because, then she goes into the kitchen and says, oh, yeah, dinner will be right in an hour.
Yes.
and Roger's suspicious, goes back onto the couch, and Kenan, right as they announce that what Ron Harper slipped in, Kenan changes the channel.
And Roger's very mad, and so he, fights them for the remote. Eventually gets it, yells, "Hush!" and turns back on the TV to find out that Ron Harper slipped in a puddle of orange soda, and that these two Chicago youths are the culprits. I like how he said Chicago youths, because I feel like that's what I call them in my intros all the time.
I did as well in the recent intro I did. And it's great, too, because he's like, I know I should be, I know I should be indifferent as a newscaster, but Kenan and Kel, shame on you. What does he say exactly?
We hate you.
Which is awesome.
No room for shame here.
This is a real news guy. Yeah. And they hired him for this to shout, we hate you to Kenan and Kel. Little side note right here. Also worth noting that Kyra returns. And this is unspoken, but she's wearing a karate gi. Showing off that a fact that'll come into play later in the series, that she does practice karate.
Wow. Nice catch, Adam.
Thank you.
She also is very good at reflexes, because at this very moment, Kenan and Kel are saying that, like, look, nobody even watches the news. We're probably fine, right? Meanwhile, his parents are mortified.
Roger is horribly upset.
Yeah, he's like, I've raised children who destroyed the Chicago Bulls season. And yeah, so they're like, we got to move out of town. And Kenan's like, nobody even watches the news. Instantly, a basketball with a note on it flies through the window.
Crashes through the window. Kyra catches it, like you said.
Yep, and it says, Kenan and Kel, get out of town.
Which causes them to collectively say, oh, man.
Yeah.
Which is usually how an episode ends if it's going really bad. So if they're saying that at like the 30% mark, you're in for some trouble.
We're definitely in for some trouble, Adam. Well, here we go. We have the plot. We have the rising action. And we return to Rigby's to see more rising action. There are riots in the streets.
Yeah, people chanting, we hate Kenan. We hate Kel.
Yeah, and then we hate Rigby's.
Yep, a lot of that stuff. Chris is shouting, Kenan and Kel aren't here. Which is a lie, because they are there.
Yep, they sneak up. There's this great image I have pulled up right now. They're hiding behind the bread display, right next to the cashier. They're peeking over the corner.
Also worth mentioning, Chris has made a barricade of storage containers and stuff like that in front of the door.
He's kind of holding it back so that nobody barges in. Kenan walks over and says, well, have you tried calling the police? Which I just love the way he said that.
Yeah. And then Chris says, probably my favorite line of the episode, most of the people out there are the police. Which is great, because that would happen in Sports Town, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's yeah, definitely.
It's very realistic that just everyone, including the police, just hate their guts and are chanting to get them down.
Yeah, if only we had riots this civil today, right?
Yeah.
It's like somebody got angry about a sports star being injured. Chris, pulls out the local paper.
The Chicago News.
Yep, and Kenan and Kel are like, yeah, it's not that bad, and the paper says,
Bull season in jeopardy, and it's their fault.
It's their picture of them.
Do you see what the side column reads?
Yeah, but I didn't write it down because it was a weird word.
Danger at the grocery.
Oh, oops. That wasn't a weird word.
Well, we don't call it a grocery around here.
No. I heard Kel say something about Acapulco.
Well, that is what he said next. So, Kenan pulls up the newspaper and says, oh, man, do you see this? And Kel, reading the entire newspaper page, says, oh, I know. The Pope canceled his trip to Acapulco.
Oh, that's what he said.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Kel's down with John Paul II, wants to follow his movements.
Yeah. And I love Kenan's reaction to that, too, because he just starts beating him up with the paper. He's like, no, man.
Yeah, we damaged Ron Harper.
Yeah, and Chris laments that his career in groceries is over.
Yeah, it really is looking pretty grim here.
Yeah, and he gets mad at Kenan for not be following his directions to mop up the orange soda.
Be following. Yes. Chris also blames Kel and his orange soda obsession,
which we'll get into later, I'm sure, in the show.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we've already gotten into it, right?
Yeah, he's definitely been teased and chided at for it previously.
I mean, it's an addiction, as the hypnosis episode says, and I don't know if it's right to be teasing somebody for their addiction, but supposedly it's not that bad. It's just orange soda.
Yeah, well, it's agreed. I guess we go to the next scene. Well, the next scene that we're in is Kenan's bedroom with his giant purple wall. And Kel arrives wearing an outfit that I definitely requires mention.
Yeah, Kel's wearing it's like a red, one of those red fuzzy shirts, and he has a black bandana, and he has a 10-gallon hat.
Yep, a big old 10-gallon hat. And as he's walking, he's going. That's
my favorite part.
Just as he walks.
He also has an empty briefcase with him.
Yeah, it's a good outfit here. So he shows Kenan that he's disguising himself as a cowboy as they get out of town.
And he says, "Yeah, I also made sure like nobody will recognize me, so I shaved my head."
He takes off the hat.
Takes his hat off, and Kel is bald.
Yep, and Kenan points out what everyone's thinking. Why do you have to shave your head if you're just going to wear a big hat? To which Kel, like, his reaction is just to cry.
I love these subtle details in the episode because it starts to like this big thing's happening, this big event, kind of potential to be earth-shaking, potential to be life-changing in a negative way. Sometimes it's positive, but their response in moments of stress is to cry. Like they're still kids. It's just a constant reminder. It's like they're still just kids.
Not just any kids. I bet we're the most hated kids in Chicago.
Yes.
Is what Kel says. And he says it like really excited.
Yeah. And Kenan's like, that is nothing to be excited about.
Yeah. Yeah, Kenan's all, oh yeah, that's real magical.
So anyways, a rock flies through the window, and it just is kind of like the last straw. Kenan's like, we got to do something about this.
So Kenan starts scheming with a plan or plot to get it into the hospital.
nice job
you.
weaving in the theme song there. Yeah, but it was actually So Kel says, yeah, I could fix his knee.
That's his first suggestion.
Yeah, and Kenan goes, "You can't fix yourself a sandwich."
Good line. But then he's from that idea he says, "Wait, maybe not fix him, but let's beg for his forgiveness, and maybe people will leave us alone." And to demonstrate that people are not leaving them alone, what happens?
A rock gets flown through the window. And people start yelling, like, "We hate you, Kenan and Kel."
I think what he says is, "Kenan and Kel, you bite."
Oh, man.
So, yeah, they that encourages them to rush out the door to the commercial break.
And after the commercial break, it might be the best characters or the best skit so far.
Yeah, this isn't something that's happened before on Kenan and Kel. I think they've disguised themselves to get out of a situation. That's some like That's So Raven stuff.
Or Drake and Josh, of course.
Yeah, there's of course you're thinking about the Drake and Josh episode where they disguise themselves as doctors.
Dr. Nussbaum.
Dr. Vichy Swaz.
I want to watch that one. So anyways, Kenan is dressed up as a doctor, and he has a beard and a mustache on with his little mini dreadlocks. He on a bed,
gurney, right?
A gurney, one of those moving beds. He has Kel.
Kel is clad in a beautiful red number that is inflated with a large stomach as if she was pregnant. And I say she because he is wearing a blonde wig, big red lipstick, and is referred to as Mrs. Kelly.
And so as we see them kind of like fumbling out of the elevator, making sure that nobody's around, there's this sidebar conversation of these two nurses talking about how like Ron Harper's knee is not looking good, And if he's out for the playoffs, then the season's pretty much over. And so it's like, it was just kind of building and ramping up this.
Yeah. she says, those two snot-nosed kids who did this to him better leave town.
It's just like, it's just everywhere, all throughout Chicago. Everybody hates Kenan and Kel.
And I think it's a nice effect. They didn't need to do that.
Yeah, no.
They just sprinkle in some side characters saying that stuff.
That's like a scene that would have been left out if the episode wasn't paced well. It would have been like cut from the episode. But it's really nice that they had it. You're right.
So one of them stops Kenan and tells him that doctor delivers on the 3rd floor.
And he basically starts whipping out another accent. He's like, I don't even know what the accent is. I don't know. I
think it's like Minnesota is what he went for.
He's like, oh, but Miss Kelly has to like bring baby now or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think he had any accent training for this bit. Kel's just shouting that the baby's coming. So they push on ahead through down the hallway.
They push. This is the best. They push right into just like this wall, and Kel falls off the bed like pregnant.
Yeah, he's got, and he climbs back on his
basketball shoes on.
You can see his basketball shoes. This is clearly not his full disguise, and he's just legs flailing in the air. I'm pretty sure his dress goes like all the way up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
At some point, so yeah, they really fumble this door, and that's not even like a hospital door. You know, the gurneys go through like those automatic ones.
He's just like lost. He just like lost control.
Yeah, it's a real good physical gag.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the whole time, I just want to mention for the people who can't see this, Kel's facial expressions as Miss Kelly are just just so spot on.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So we go to our next scene, which is inside a hospital room, and they see the sheets are all the way up, and apparently that's Ron Harper in there, and they start planning on how to get his attention.
Yeah, so he's asleep, and Kel, or Miss Kelly, grabs this megaphone, which just happens to be sitting there, and is about to use it, and Kenan's like, no, don't do that. Like, we gotta be a little bit more gentle.
And he replies, you shouldn't yell at me, I'm pregnant. So yeah, they gently go over to the bed.
Yeah, Mr. Harper? Mr. Harper? Sir Ron?
Yes, Sir Ron. And then Kel reacts by saying, we killed Ron Harper.
Kenan's like, we didn't kill him. And then he like pushes on him to wake him up, and he falls off the bed.
Yep, revealing that it's not Ron Harper, but an elderly bald man.
Right. So this elderly bald man asks why they pushed him off the bed, and then ask them to help him back up.
Yep, they argue about how they're grabbing onto him, push him onto the bed, and when a nurse arrives at the room, they accidentally push him off the other side.
Yes, Adam, I have to mention, when they're deciding how to pick him up, they say, okay, head or feet, and basically Kenan ends up with the feet, and Kel ends up with the head, but Kel grabs his head. Like not like his shoulders or like under the arms as you would pick somebody up. He grabs his head. I don't know how this actor wasn't seriously injured by this.
Yeah, it looks very painful. Well, if he gets hurt, the hospital's like right there.
That's like a Full House joke.
That is a Full House joke.
Like, yeah, when you're playing hockey, right?
Yeah, you hurt yourself, and the ice is like right there.
Right, that's classic.
But the nurse it is asking what's going on, and Kenan introduces himself.
Yep, he says he's whatever the doctor's name is.
Oh, you didn't catch it?
No.
He says, I'm Dr. Pepper.
I did not catch that.
This is I'm helping this pregnant woman here, Mrs. Kelly. and Kel shouts. Do you have what he shouts?
I'm about to drop the bomb.
Yep. That's it. And the nurse is like, all right, let's get her in the bed stats. And as this episode has fully devolved, Kenan has to deliver Kel's baby.
So Kel's like legs are spread on the bed, and the nurse is like holding Kel, like helping him breathe, and he's like, like actually like giving birth, right? And
Kenan just reaches in there and pulls out his the pillow that was under his dress.
Yeah, and Kenan's response is, "Oh my gosh, it's a beautiful baby fluffy pillow," or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, he passes it to the nurse. She's like, "What's going on?" And they rush out of there.
Another unnecessary but wonderful moment. The old man who's on the ground like sits up and he says, "Oh, what a beautiful baby."
It's good. It's a good tagline.
And then the nurse like hits him.
She hits him with it. Yeah. So, all right. The Kenan and Kel travel through the hospital and find the Ron Harper's correct room, where he is in there playing with a tape dispenser. If you noticed,
like how many millions of dollars does he have? And he has nothing to do.
He's just like taping his fingers.
No Nintendo or like nothing.
Yeah, no, you're correct. He's making the most money in the world at that time.
Nobody's there. He's got no friends visit. Like he's not infectious.
Yeah, just by himself. And he's totally chill too when Kenan rolls up. He says, "What's up, Doc?" Once again, making me think that this might be a line written for Space Jam alum Michael Jordan.
I do think this episode was written for Michael Jordan, and they just like, oh crap. Just kidding, Ron Harper. I hope you're listening to this episode, and if you are, ask.
I got one more friendly jab for Ron Harper, which is that when Kenan and Kel remove their outfits, or Kenan removes his fake beard and reveals that it's the teenagers that got him there, Ron Harper says, "Oh no, not you two." In that same like cadence.
Listen, he's a basketball player. He's not an actor.
Sorry, RH.
No. I mean, Ron, you did wonderful this episode. You made Kenan and Kel special. This episode made me laugh more than most. So nice job.
Yeah, once he asks them what they're doing there, they say,
they're like, "We just want a few minutes of your time," and he's like, "All right," and they just instantly break down, start crying, and then they say, "We're sorry."
Yeah, right. And then they start, and he's really not apologetic, which I think he has a right to be.
No, he's still pretty angry.
Yeah, and he's like, "Just leave me alone." And they start listing like all the stuff that they can't do, like their parents can't leave town, or Rugby's is going to close down.
There's rocks thrown at their windows. All of Chicago hates them.
And the Pope canceled his trip to Acapulco.
Which is actually directly related to this event.
Yeah, apparently.
That reminds me of my probability class. Like one of the questions was like, if it rains in Rome, what's the probability that the Eagles win the game on Sunday? It's like that has nothing to do with each other. But in fact, they do. Conditional probability, people.
So he basically says, "Get out of here, leave me alone." And Kenan leaves dejected. Or I said rejected, right? That's the basketball term.
Rejected. He was blocked. Denied access to the hoop of forgiveness. The hoop of forgiveness.
So we later learn, okay, I should have probably done this homework. What does a starting guard do?
It's just, so there's, in basketball, there's a point guard and a shooting guard, and then there's a small forward, then there's a power forward, and then there's a center. So point guard and shooting guard, those are like usually kind of like the shorter guys on the team who do a lot of the shooting and the passing and assisting, and they're faster, so they play around the perimeter. And
so I will correctly make the joke that he did not assist them with passing them any forgiveness.
Well, an assist is a pass, so he did not. He didn't.
I'm not gonna get it right. Just temper your expectations. It's fine.
He did not toss up any dimes to Kenan and Kel.
Not a single dime. So they leave the hospital room, except Kel returns and opens the door to stick his head through.
And one of the sweetest moments in Kenan and Kel, Kel tells Ron Harper, "I'm sorry I made you fall. Even though you won't forgive us, you're still my hero."
And speaking of Full House, there's a little like piano, like sad music that happens here as we transition scenes.
Yep, and awe from the audience.
You get a look from Ron Harper that's kind of like shaking his head.
Yeah, like man, these are just kids.
Back at Rigby's, the chanting continues, and Kenan, Kel, and Chris are just sitting on the floor, unable to making plans for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, they're about to concede, about to run away. Chris is saying that he's just going to move to another town and start a new shop, and change his name. And Kel suggests Bruce, to which Chris responds, "I'll Bruce you."
And he hikes up his pants a little bit, which I don't. It's a little weird.
That was odd.
But the chanting outside turns to cheering.
Yeah.
And Kenan, they curious about that. They approach the door and they see that it's Ron Harper out there.
And they start to freak out because they think Ron Harper's going to beat them up.
He's come back to hurt us. That's what Chris shouts.
They all start kind of panicking and running and hiding behind stuff.
They brace against the barricade.
Yeah, they brace against the barricade. And then the door opens.
Yeah, he opens the door. So the barricade forgot that the door doesn't open that way.
The barricade, it was barricading a door that was open and opens the opposite way.
Yeah, right. So Ron Harper's there, and it's Ron Harper, and they run away. But he's like, calm down. And he hinges open the barricade. Which really makes it look like a set.
Yeah, and he's also enormous.
He's very large
compared to normal people.
Even though his position is for shorter people on the team.
Well, you're picking up a lot, Adam. And these shorter people on the team are still 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6".
I received that assist.
Oh my god! Please stop. This is painful.
So
stick to orange soda trivia, please.
Ron Harper has called a press conference inside Rigby's.
As Chris responds, "You mean a conference to the press?"
Be quiet.
That's Ron's response.
So he gives a prepared speech, which explains that it was his fault that he slipped on orange soda. He was drinking some, spilled it. He was clumsy.
Kel is right behind him. He chimes in yeah, it was his fault. And Kenan goes, "Ron is a klutz." Just rubbing it in.
Yeah. But he continues to say that Kenan and Kel are good friends of his. And his knee is doing better, and he should return to action within a week.
All the press people cheer. Kenan and Kel are being embraced by Ron Harper. And it's a beautiful story of forgiveness and reconciliation.
However, it would not be Kenan and Kel if it ended crazy happy. Yeah, so on an awesome ending note, Kel asks for his signature once again on the bottle of orange soda. And he's like, "Okay, do you have a pen this time?" And he does. And he excitedly goes for his pen, forgetting that he has a bottle of orange soda in his hands.
The orange soda drops and falls on Ron Harper's foot. And the episode ends with Ron Harper kind of exclaiming in pain, looking like the orange soda bottle broke his foot.
I'm trying to remember what this thing's called. It's like a stop frame.
Yeah, freeze frame.
Yeah, it's a freeze frame on this moment in time. First time we ever got one of those in Kenan and Kel. But that's the end bit. Is that, oh no, they injured him again. But come on, Ron Harper, it's just a 2-liter of orange soda.
Yes, but this episode means so much more than a 2-liter of orange soda to these young Chicago natives.
All right, come on, Ron Harper. It's not a can of peas or anything.
Hey, you're just bringing back all these memories from my childhood, these traumatic events.
Sorry.
I dropped a can of peas on my toe. Now my toenail is forever dented.
That's too bad. At least you dented your toenails in meaningful ways.
Oh, you just lost your toenails from kicking the ball incorrectly in soccer.
Yeah, so it's a self-burn too. All right, back on stage, Kenan and Kel emerge, and they're not the only ones there.
They are soon joined by the crew, back to finish their game of basketball.
They even got a net set up right there on stage.
Yeah, there's kind of like a dramatic reveal from the camera, like pointing upwards.
So Kenan and Kel have a plan, is because there's 3 guys from the crew, and there's only 2 of them. So it's a little unfair. Should be a full 3-on-3 game, right?
Yes, that is how pickup basketball is played. Usually you have even teams. Even though there are 5 people in the starting lineup of a basketball game, when you play pickup games, you match the number of the other people on the other side. Trying to teach you these things that you never learned.
These guys can't be a starting lineup because they have no opponent team to play against. So therefore they have to play each other and they don't have even numbers.
You're really starting to get it. Nice job.
So they offer that Kenan and Kel can pick up, go ahead, grab anybody you want.
So Kenan's basically like, whomever should we choose?
Ron.
In walks Ron Harper from behind the red curtain. And
you can tell he's a professional basketball player because he's taller than any of this crew.
Yeah, this is like the first time you see how tall he really is.
Yeah. And to demonstrate how great of a teammate they have, they pass the basketball to him, and he dunks it in the net.
In a very kids were watching this and were like, yeah.
It was very nonchalant.
Yes, for sure.
I did not feel like a regulation height basketball net. Right?
No, it probably was. I mean, he could probably dunk on like a 11-foot net.
Okay, then. My mistake. But yeah, he does that, and the other guys are immediately scared off stage.
Yep, and then Kenan turns to his new friend. They thank him, and he says, "You ever take a ride on a wild hippopotamus?"
And he just has not, of course, because he's Ron Harper. So Kenan invites him along to do so. He calls Kel another nickname here, and I didn't catch it.
Something maybe like sea bass.
Sea bass is a good one. I for like hoop that.
Something
which doesn't make any sense. Let's say sea bass. He calls him sea bass. And Kel, of course, closed out the show with a couple dance moves, but it doesn't catch on, so he just really quickly ends it.
Yeah, he's gotta stop living in the past there with that ending, that outro.
That ending dance isn't gonna work anymore. So, and that's the episode. So Aaron, I have to ask, as I always do, whose fault do you think this episode was? Kenan's or Kel's?
I am gonna say it's Kel's fault.
Not Kenan. The show prompted that it was kind of 50-50 on whose responsibility this was.
I do. Yes. It does seem 50-50. I forgot that was an option. But if I had to choose binary, I would say it's probably Kel's fault because he just spills the orange soda. And if you spill something, you should clean it up. Doesn't matter who's working.
Yeah, I kind of want to just give it to, or maybe like a 75-25.
No,
because
stop that. Just choose.
We've done it before.
Have we? 75-25?
Mo Sweater Blues.
Oh,
25% Kenan's fault.
Okay, fine. I like 75-25.
Okay, just because while yes, Kenan has some responsibility in this. Like he had like only a minute to go get the mopper, put up the wet floor sign, clean it up before Ron Harper stepped in it. Like it was not nearly enough time.
Right. Also, we forgot to mention that this is a huge liability issue for Rigby's. Like, if this actually happened, somebody slipped on something that was wet and there was no wet floor sign, you could have massive lawsuits.
For some reason, I was surprised that in the middle of the episode, Kenan wasn't fired. I know that's not Chris's style, and he'll take a lot of punishment from him.
Yeah, this is definitely a fireable offense. Like Chris could have fired somebody.
Yeah, there's probably gonna be a lawsuit involved, like you said.
Yeah, no, it's a serious. Yeah, you got to have a wet floor sign out. One time at the restaurant I worked at, somebody slipped on ice in the parking lot, which is bad because you got to salt the ice, and they did, but apparently it wasn't enough because it was really cold and and somebody slipped and hit their head, and it's like really scary for a restaurant because
no.
you're like that could be seriously bad.
Luckily, the ice was right there.
I don't know what he was complaining about. Just a dark, dry parking lot in the middle of July, in the middle of December.
Sounds peaceful.
Yes.
No, so that's the episode. Ron Harper as the guest star, as you know, believe it or not.
This is the Amazon trivia for this episode is this is the only episode of Kenan and Kel Ron Harper features in.
That's
I was
true.
like, that I understand that, but
I've got a theory, a Kenan and Kel theory for you. Another one of our like orange hypotheses.
Okay.
Is that Ron Harper was only there for like a day of filming because he's absent for most of the episode. It's mainly just those like 4 scenes, right?
Yep, that makes sense. That checks out.
Yeah. He has like 3 outfits that he wears across those 4 scenes. Schedule wise, it checks out to me. I'm happy that even though he wasn't in a lot of the other episode, it was still really good.
Right.
Like the filler with Kenan and Kel getting into antics, and the hospital bits were awesome.
Yeah. The hospital scenes were great, especially with Kenan dressed up as a doctor, and Kel dressed up as Miss Kelly.
So real quick for Meet the Rockmores, I have here that Kyra does karate, as we first learned this episode.
Or she's wearing a gi. We don't necessarily know which martial arts she partakes in, but
correct. She's a martial artist.
We can assume it's karate because not many other martial arts were too big right here for children.
Right. And from the Rigby's accounting department, a 2-liter of orange soda, which caused almost as much drama as the 20 cases of orange soda.
Adam, I think you probably have to include at least one entire day of no sales.
Oh, wow, I didn't even think about that.
Maybe more than that, but it seems like it's at least one like 24-hour period of no sales.
I can get behind that. So yeah, 24 hours of no sales.
I don't know how you're going to factor that in, but
I'll have to find out what the average grocery store in Chicago made in 1997.
Oh my God, I don't think that's a statistic. The average convenience store income.
Tune in for more investigative reporting in our season closer. So let's talk ratings. So on IMDb, this episode is ranked given a 7.2 out of 10, ranked 49 out of 62 episodes.
God, that's ridiculous.
That's low. What are your final thoughts on the episode, and how many bottles of orange soda would you give it?
Okay, final thoughts. I think this episode was brilliant. It was a lot of fun. I laughed more than I laugh in most episodes. I really like the skits. I think like that's what I'm starting to think that's what Kenan and Kel should be. It should be like a lot of skits, even if sometimes they don't fit together. Right? Every now and then you're going to have an episode that's written really well and all the skits fit together, and it's kind of masterful. So I liked it. I liked Mr. Rockmore's role. It was kind of like, quiet but really good. I'm going to give this episode a 9 because I basically rate these on how much they make me laugh, and this one made me laugh a lot. So
yeah, that's pretty high.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I really did.
I've been toying with my score a little bit. Originally I was thinking it pretty low because of how different this is from a lot of other kind of Kenan and Kel episodes, like the musical interlude, the wearing disguises and getting into situations. But even though it was a new writer, it was well written, I would say, and things definitely escalated in a powerful and progressive way.
And a lot happened. Happened,
yeah.
But I felt like it was still well paced.
I gave Stars Peeved a pretty high score, and I'm probably going to adjust that down the line here, because compared to this, if that was an 8, this one should be an 8. But I think I'm just gonna give it a 7.5 for the time being.
Okay, all right.
I put it that's in line with like clowning around and haven't got time for the paints. It fell in that category of this season for me.
Yeah, it was really well done, really well produced, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely not bottom third of the series for sure.
No, I think that IMDb rating is pretty rough.
Yeah, I that's one of the great things we're gonna have at the end of the show, a comparison of our ratings versus theirs.
Yeah, and
so we can write a thesis on why their IMDb should be canceled.
We'll just post it on the internet and let the real Fantas decide.
Absolutely, I'll get a nice orange graphic going with it. It'll be great. So, thank you, Fantas, for joining us for another awesome episode of Kenan and Kel.
Next week we have a great episode, if I may say so myself. It is called The Crush.
We have finally returned to it.
We have finally returned to it after I watched it about 10 episodes too early. Written by Dan Schneider and directed and co-starring Kim Fields Freeman.
Yeah, I've also seen it. I have time, and I'll tell everyone that it's a good one. Make sure you don't miss the episode of Kenan and Kel and that episode of Kenan and Kel with Adam and Aaron.
All right, we'll see you next week, Fantas. Until then, here it goes. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Kenan and Kel with Adam and Aaron. If you want to stay in touch, send us an email at KenanandKelPodcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a voice message at anchor.fm/KenanandKelPodcast. Our social media accounts are all at Kenan and Kel Podcast. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks, everybody.
Wow!